We're here
Hello, it's a hot minute. It's been a hot minute.
again. We keep doing this. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lore Whores.
I don't know what the last episode was because I know we've had some technical
It was Twilight again.
Hey, there's a lot of cultural
You said this last time.
significance.
You said this last time.
It should be in the MoMA.
The MoMA?
Yeah.
What's the MoMA?
I don't know what it stands for exactly, but it's basically sort of a culture, creativity, collection of the arts that needs to be preserved for society and humanity. You know, the MoMA.
Okay, I've never heard of that. Have you heard about the Minecraft library that's full of like forbidden texts?
Yeah, I have. I've heard about that.
Yeah,
it's
it's like the largest like vault of like texts that are outlawed in like lots of different countries, and like it's in Minecraft.
That's
And
genuinely
you can
kind
go
of
visit
iconic.
it. Like you can straight up just go to the server and like visit it.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah. So
The Minecraft MoMA.
anyway, I'm Joe or Amber. I use any pronouns, and this is my good friend, co-host of the podcast, fellow whore in the lore variety, Alau.
That's so many titles. I'm loving it. Thank you. I am Alau. Usually she, her pronouns, but I don't generally mind. And it's been a minute, but we are here.
Like every episode, we will transgender you at some point.
Essentially, every episode, I think my gender gets a little bit transer. But, I feel like that's just the price for medium quality entertainment.
Yeah. Speaking of transgender, that kind of follows on to our topic that we're talking about today. I don't know if this is just me. Well, I know it's not just me because basically every trans person I've met is into like Transformers or something like that. But the sort of idea of machines and robots are something that I relate to a lot, and I find a lot of interest in because they are the biggest example of something that's human but not quite, but also alongside humans, and also like you have that like clash there. And but yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about robots and their different representations in media. I'm going to start with you because I know you don't particularly involve yourself in sci-fi.
I've watched Bumblebee, the
Oh, it's
Transformer.
a
I
good
think he was
movie.
neat. I like that he's yellow.
That's one of my favorite movies.
I've actually watched, I think, most of the Transformer films, but I just didn't take any of it in. But I do remember the one where they turned into dinosaurs, which was kind of funny. And then there was the Transformers turned into the robot man shape who was riding the dinosaur-shaped robot. It was a choice, I think, that they made.
That pissed me off so much, not gonna lie.
It's kind of funny.
I'm a big fan of Transformers. I actually was rewatching some of the episodes of Transformers Prime yesterday.
Is that cartoon?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cartoon. It's like the most recent. Well, not the most recent. It's the second last most recent. It's like the 3D animated one. It's pretty good. Straight up murders the main character in the first episode.
Love that. Love that.
But yeah, Transformers is something that's near and dear to my heart. There's a very specific game called Fall of Cybertron, which is a game set on the evacuation of the planet.
Oh,
when they're
okay.
during their
So that's
Civil War.
quite heavy going.
Oh yeah, it's fucking great.
What console is that on?
It was
PC?
Xbox 360 era.
Oh.
But the thing is, though, because of the licensing issues and what have you, they're not allowed to resell it anymore. So you literally can't get it anywhere unless you find a physical copy.
Or you have like an emulator.
Yeah, literally. So it means I've not been able to play it for years. It came out in like 2012.
God, yeah.
It's one of my favorite games ever. But yeah, fuck it. Let's talk about Transformers. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I do know that there's lots of different canons.
I feel like
Yeah.
Transformers based on comic books. I want to say.
No,
No?
they were
What's the original media for a Transformer?
toys.
Just toys, straight up.
Yeah, just straight up toys. They were made by Hasbro, and basically the Transformers original cartoon, which was in like the 80s or so, was made to promote the toys, basically.
All right. Okay.
And
enough.
then it got really popular because
I mean, it's kind of cool.
it's kind of sick.
Because everybody loves to fidget with something that changes from one thing into another,
Oh,
and it
yeah,
makes you feel like
completely.
a puzzle lord, especially if you're a kid, to be changing the shape of something. It's good.
It also, and we've talked about this like kind of before, it also like does the thing of here's like this like world system, and here's different characters, and they're represented in different ways, and that makes people go, oh, what like would my vehicle form be in like Transformers? What would I turn
I
into?
can
kind
see
of
how
thing.
this
Yeah.
would feed into transgender.
Exactly
Into the
yeah.
transing of the gender. It's this. I'm not gonna. I'd say this is pretty accurate of a representation, which is that queer people, especially when it comes to like gender representation or just sort of being queer and the feeling of otherness, it comes down a lot. Also, people with like who are neurodivergent as well. It comes down to othering and the sense of being like not human. So you find it a lot in robots. You find it a lot in the furry community. You find it a lot in the supernatural community. And what is the other one? There's definitely like another like sort of like
I know what you mean.
like genre that's like
It's that sort of like here's my like D&D. That's as
D&D as well. Yeah, I'd say that falls into like the supernatural fantasy.
yeah.
So you have sci-fi, you have fantasy, supernatural. Those kind of overlap a lot.
Yeah, it's that sort of idea of like you can create this other self, this other character. That...
It encourages for you to think about your blank sonar.
Yeah, exactly.
At
yeah.
which point you start imagining yourself and envisioning yourself, and then from there you have stumbled onto the transgender pathway.
Yeah, exactly. It's this idea that you could just be something different, and like it's kind of. I'm sure a lot of trans people have like sort of been through this cycle of, oh, I wish I was born as a girl. But you know what? I'm not that. So, like, I'm not going to go ahead and pursue that. And then you kind of go, oh, fuck, actually being a girl makes me feel really happy. And vice versa for trans men, non-binary people and all that. Literally, like, 2 years ago, I would have gone, maybe I'm a bit queer, potentially. I don't know. But I'd say that I'm a cis guy. I would never, like, wear a skirt or anything.
You are in a skirt.
I am in a skirt right now, and I've been referred to a gender clinic, and I want to be on estrogen. So it's
I
yeah.
mean, get your girl juice.
I want my girl
G-juice.
juice so bad. But yeah, Transformers. They are not robots.
No, they're aliens, right?
They are aliens. Yes, they are a cybernetic alien organism. I like to think of it like instead of having blood and bone and skin and what have you for their make up the bodies, they have metal, and they live off of this substance called energon, which is their lifeblood, and basically it's what their civil war they had on the planet was like all about.
Yes. I do know like the general. I have picked up I have the gist of how the Transformers work and function, and their general sort of the literal barest.
It's a
bones
very
of their history.
simple story. Yeah,
I don't remember any of the plots of the films, is what I mean. Like, because they were just
Yeah.
blockbuster Hollywood churnouts.
Michael Bay, the world-renowned, very profitable pedophile, is do you not know about that?
I am very bad with actors and actor names. And
Oh, he's a director. He directed all of the films.
I'm also bad with director names.
He's big explodey guy.
Uh-oh.
Basically, he was like given the Transformers license to make like big blockbuster live action movies. And to be honest, in the first one, he went ham with it, and it's actually, I think it's a pretty fun movie. I have a lot of nostalgia for them because they're what I grew up with.
Yeah.
But Megan Fox, she
Oh,
was
poor Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
She was in a previous movie that he directed, and literally did like a sort of sexy bikini sort of like dance scene in like a waterfall or something when she was just turning 18 or like potentially 16 or 17.
Yeah.
And then he waited for her to turn 18 to put her in the Transformers movie kind of thing, and kind of has been generally a creep around her, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, Megan Fox has had a horrible bloody experience in the movie industry. Like, Jennifer's Body, well, while it is like a queer cult film, and it is like an incredible film, the way that they objectified her in that film, though it was in one way like, oh, taking power for yourself, murder boys, woo, they definitely objectified her, and that did impact her career.
Oh,
and, like,
absolutely.
her life for the rest of it. You know,
I think the combination of her playing
a teenager.
playing no, well, not that, but like just playing the character that she was in Transformers, and then playing Jennifer's Body kind of thing, and the false advertising that they did with Jennifer's Body, because they advertised it as a sexy hot demon succubus, and
as opposed to actually being quite like a
because
like a really good story about like two women, and like I've got so much to say about Jennifer's Body, but this is not the episode.
Yeah. We'll talk about it at some point. I do like Jennifer's Body.
Oh, it's incredible.
But I do think in Jennifer's Body, the objectification of her is meant to be a device to represent the sort of
power dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
And how she is directly turning that on its head by eating people.
Yeah, she's basically like an anglerfish, kind of like thing.
Yes.
She lures people in, yada yada, and then
I you know what, I would let her. I wouldn't mind. If Jennifer from Jennifer's Body said, "Hi, I'm going to murder you now," and I would just say, "Do you know what? I support women's rights, but most importantly, I support women's wrongs," and I would not mind because I know.
Speaking about women, because there's so many different like canons in Transformers and what have you. Like you have the Generation 1 stuff, which was like the OG, which has like a lot of different things, and it's quite nice to indulge in Transformers media because they do lots of different things, and one canon can heavily reference to another canon, but you don't need to know that canon to enjoy it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's why I honestly thought it was a comic book series originally, because it has that same multi-canon, multi-universe thing that most comic book series
if anything, the comics were like one of the last media forms that came out, that and video games. But yeah, I want to talk about Fall of Cybertron because like it's one of my favorite games ever.
Please do.
And specifically about one group of Transformers called the Dinobots.
Okay, yeah.
So you know how you have Autobots and Decepticons?
Are these guys robots?
The Dinobots and the
Not robots, I meant dinosaurs, fucking hell.
The Dinobots and the Insecticons.
Are they insects?
Yeah, they're kind of like their rival butting head groups of them. And like in the original G1 cartoon, basically it's an episode where like the Autobots are like, like there were like these really cool like animals like all these like years ago kind of thing, and they straight up just create life and build these 5 Dinobots, and they're kind of like the kind of like caveman-esque kind of thing. They're kind of like dumbed down kind of thing. They're like they speak in the third person kind of thing. And you've got Grimlock, who is a big T-Rex. You have Slug, Snarl, Swoop, and I think actually Slug was originally called Slag, you know, like metal slag, but like they changed it. But yeah, and basically they were just created, and then like they sort of became part of the Autobots and yada yada. But they're kind of like the unruly kind of like the powerful,
they're
but
the
like
fun ones.
Yeah, they're the fun guys. In Fall of Cybertron, they wanted to include the Dinobots, but obviously they're on fucking Cybertron. And the way that they got around this was that the war that was taking place happened about roughly 6.5 million years ago. There was a scientist called Shockwave who used basically a big fucking telescope, saw Earth, and saw it as a potential place to like colonize if the planet ever like went to shit, which it did. And he saw these dinosaurs. So he captured Autobot fugitives and experimented on them and created them into these weird dinosaur hybrids.
How far away is Cybertron from Earth?
Fucking yonks.
Then how does that work in terms of the speed of light?
Oh, quite far. The plot of Fall of Cybertron is that there is this. They create this thing called a space bridge, and a space bridge is basically a big portal that takes you from one place to the other.
Yeah, I'm mostly thinking on the lines of like, you know, if you are looking through a telescope at a planet a certain amount of light years away, it is literally you're seeing the after image of it.
Yeah.
So theoretically, the fall of Cybertron.
Don't think too much about it.
I'm not
No,
gonna,
don't
I'm
think
saying,
too
like,
much about it.
theoretically, the Cybertron could be falling right now, but
Yeah.
they're still seeing like dinosaurs on our planet, which
Yeah.
I think is neat.
Yeah, potentially. But yeah, I just like that they managed to incorporate them through like, oh, here's the thing that's like happening like ages and ages away. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
kind of
nice, yeah.
it's a fun little thing. But yeah, Grimlock is like it's kind of interesting because he wakes up in this like test chamber and he's like he feels more stupid. Like he feels like he's lost his memory. He can't speak as well. He's like a lot bigger and like
Oh,
he's like struggling to like
that's quite sad actually.
yeah,
I
like,
was expecting something. Oh,
it's
funny,
more
haha.
yeah, well it's more of like a tortured soul kind of thing.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but like but yeah, and then he finds out he can turn into a T-Rex that breathes fire.
And then everything is okay.
Yeah.
There is definitely a lot of metaphors that can be put into place for not only robots and transforming, but just mad science in general. And like
yeah.
the willing or unwilling transformation of body.
Yeah, well it is body horror. And like the thing is like with Transformers is that they get away with a lot of like robo-gore kind of thing. Because like I mean especially in like in the Bumblebee movie, a character in that cliff jumper literally gets cut in half. Like, literally, and like they're dismembered, they're torn to bits, and it's kind of like brutal, but in a way that like obviously kids can watch.
Yeah, it's brutal in a way that
But it was
isn't if you don't think about it.
Yeah,
too
yeah,
long.
yeah. But like the body horror aspect of this scientist called Shockwave is like quite grim because he basically takes prisoners of war and like develops them into weapons.
I feel like that's a very common theme
Oh yeah.
in media in general, and it's not usually classified as horror until you start thinking about it properly.
Yeah, it's like think about the connotations kind of thing.
Yes, I do love a good let me deep dive into this and make it horrifying.
Yeah. Anyway, on the transgender aspect, the IDW comics, which is our friend is very obsessed with.
Yes, I have heard about this.
Strangely, one of the queerest media forms out there. I would have thought like Transformers would have been like
Very trad, like
yeah. I mean, it's like when you look at something like Warhammer, which came about like around about the same time. That is still very straight media. Like a lot of the time, Transformers has kind of developed into sort of a queer icon. Like I know that they reproduce and they can interact with each other romantically and sexually. Gender identity is literally a choice. Like they don't they just like a famous character RC was kind of the girl robot in the originals. She's now a trans gender Autobot, and it's kind of interesting to see how like
new writers, new authors, new creators have been brought into the franchise and are developing what was already there into something more progressive, more representative of the people around them.
Yeah, because
nice.
because like the original RC design is misogynistic.
Is she breasting boobily somehow?
No, she's not breasting, but she's kind of more delicate. She's got a slender frame. She's got that curve kind of figure.
Hourglass
whereas
frame.
whereas all the rest of them are like boxes.
Yeah.
But they've managed to develop that into something that's actually quite nice.
Yeah. I do. There's something very sincere and very sweet about taking a piece of media and then seeing what you have to work with and making it into something that you might not have like originally been intended, but does like just add a sort of depth of richness and like quality to it.
You're creating something new with it. Yeah,
Big fan.
I like that. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other robot media now.
I know that there are robots in the Star War.
There are. They are called droids.
Yes.
And this is one of my favorite things that's never explored in Star Wars. It's hinted at, but it's never explored, and it's only been hinted at in recent media.
Yes.
Droids are basically fully conscious second-class citizens that are manufactured, and no one bats an eye at them.
Giving me very much Detroit Become Human, which I very much enjoyed watching playthroughs of.
Yeah, like that, but their sophistication is kind of deliberately different, and also it has been known that droids actually develop personalities over time. So one example is the battle droids. The battle droids are basically during the Clone Wars. The battle droids were the army of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, or the CIS. I've talked about them before.
The CIS.
But the droids themselves, in the first film, they had a central control unit which controlled them. That got destroyed, and then they all deactivated, and that's how the big fight at the end is won. The Trade Federation, the CIS, decided this was bad, and they instead manufactured droids with their own individual processing and computer units. And what this meant was that over time, they started developing personalities.
Which I do love. I love the concept of artificial concept, like robot life, whatever, gaining sentience just from exposure to people. It's like the idea that you can't even be exposed to humanity without humanizing yourself in some way, shape, or form. We're just so infectious. And like usually there are some bad traits that obviously get picked up. But I love when it's about like the positivity and love and like the humanization and the development of consciousness in something that is initially lifeless and technically soulless, if you believe in the concept of a soul. There is just something very good about this.
I love it.
I would like to sink my teeth into this concept.
I love it. Yeah, no, I am exactly the same. And guess what? Star Wars never fucking explores it.
Of course it doesn't.
Or if it does, it doesn't like explore it in like a very deep way. Do you know what's the actor from Fleabag called?
Oh, which one?
The main one.
The woman?
Yeah, the woman.
I don't know, but I know who you're talking about.
I've forgotten her name.
She's very funny.
She's very funny. I was literally talking about her yesterday. She plays a droid in Star Wars, specifically in film Solo. She plays a droid called L337, and which is Leet. I know.
I was gonna say Leet.
Yeah, and she sort of is like a droid that's been around for a while, and she sees like a droid like pit fight kind of thing, and she's like, you don't have to do this. And like her character is she wants to liberate droids, she wants equal rights for them, and in the end she kind of just dies. She kind of just like, she doesn't even die, she just kind of gets uploaded into a ship to be a mapping computer.
That's horrendous. I love it when they do that.
Yeah. And it was so interesting to actually have like a character like acknowledge that yes, droids can have these things called restraining bolts put on them. They are basically little devices that they put on, and they just can't do anything that someone doesn't want them to with them on. And like, she's going around, she's taking off these restraining bolts, and they're all going free. And like, they're glad to be free. They're happy. They're visibly excited.
Consciousness.
They are conscious.
And then it never gets explored further.
Like, there's like a hint in like a few, like there's like an episode of Obi-Wan where like a droid gets like disrespected by like a noble or something, and someone calls it out. But like generally they are kind of, they're second class. Like literally C-3PO gets his memory wiped repeatedly because because he holds classified information.
Oh.
Like, because he knows too much kind of thing. R2 never does it because he's a good boy. But, like, yeah. Like, they are just... It's so strange. They are fully autonomous and individual. They are creative. They have personality. And yet they are just sidelined at every opportunity for organics.
It's kind of crazy. I used to read this book series called Hive. Heinous institution for villainous education. So kids who have been like flagged by the system, this particular the Hive system, for having the potential to be villains and be very good villains, are picked up, kidnapped, and taken to this underground bunker base system, and they are forced to go for 7 years of school to become either a henchman or like a villain or a scientist or this sort of thing.
Oh, so it's a bit like Sky High kind of thing. But like for supervillains.
But like for supervillains, and there's like a lot more gory and like realistic, I guess.
Yeah.
Gritty. I don't know if you ever read Cherub, which is also an acronym, which is the flip version where kids are picked to become spies.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, Hive was about this like one kid who's like this orphan and he's a genius, and he makes two best friends who are these like mischievous twins who are also like very clever, and they've been doing heists and stuff. And they all get picked by like the age of 11, and they get brought there and being like, hey, you guys are really good at doing crimes and like plotting, there's a lot of potential, but you're not good enough yet, which is how we managed to catch you, so we're gonna sharpen you up. And the entire school, this underground space, I think they're in like a mountain or something, I'm not sure, is controlled, protected, patrolled, everything like that by Hive, the AI system. And these three kids are like, actually, it might be four honestly, but these, I don't think they're even word kids, whatever, it's one genius kid and his two mates, I think.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is fucking ridiculous. Yeah, okay, we might want to do evil and stuff, but like, we're gonna do it on our own terms, so we're getting out of here. So they plan this whole heist to get out. And it turns out, yeah, it was the teachers laying the breadcrumbs for them just to see what they would do and to test them.
Yeah.
And to, on one hand, be like, this was a test, we want to see how well you do. And as well, as a warning, to know that we know everything. And we always know what you're doing. Which, you know, oof, insidious, love it. But what was fascinating is, one of the things that they managed to do in the first book is actually realize that the AI is sentient and befriend it.
Oh.
And get it to help them. And the school was like, yeah, we didn't know that was possible. We really weren't expecting you to do that. But he still seems to be on team, so we're not gonna take him down. We're gonna keep him going. And then for the rest of the books, and I think I stopped reading like a book 5 or something because I think they were still coming out.
Yeah.
For the rest of the books, the AI is there and he's developing sentience as it goes. And like every now and then the main character, Otto, will be like, oh, hey, how are you? He's got his like little iPad and he's like, hey, Hive, how's it going? This and this and that. He's like, how was the book you were reading? What did you think about it? And it's like asking him about like what he thinks about like themes of the books, what he thinks that means about humanity. And it was just like these little sidebars where you would have like this AI who's like developing consciousness, not only consciousness, but like thoughts on humanity, opinions, a little bit of a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I remember the one line which was like, he asked like Hive about like what he was reading, what he thought about the book. And he was like, I could ask him other questions, such as what his favorite color is, but that would be really mean. He's not there yet. And like, it was really interesting. I don't know. It was just like a kind of dark, gritty, funny book on like villainy, literally villainy, and being villainous. It was a very sweet thing for them to have the Hive, and for
it's an interesting development as well, because like I personally like to see how I mean, you're the same. You like the whole Petri dish kind of like analogy of like having something that and just seeing what it does.
Yeah.
And like seeing how like someone writes like certain characters, especially non-human characters, is like
how they treat a non-human character says everything.
Yeah.
Just kidding, rolling.
Oh, yeah.
It says a lot about a person.
Yeah, let's not talk about her.
About who? But like, it just says a lot about what you're reading, what's going on, how the protagonist treats non-human characters, and then how the antagonist treats non-human characters. Like, I'm also reading The Watchmaker of Filgry Street, which is like this it's not steampunk, it's like tick punk, so it's more about clockwork than it is about steam and stuff.
Yeah.
Very good. I got it from the gay bookshop in Liverpool, which is incredible. I haven't finished it yet because I'm in part 3 and things are getting very tense and I'm very scared to get to the next 2 chapters.
Yeah.
But the watchmaker of it, he's like an incredible watchmaker, and this is set in like the early 1900s, I want to say.
Yeah.
And he has these incredibly detailed clockwork mechanisms. So some of them are like, one of them is this big like cityscape, which is like old-fashioned buildings who are clockwork being built up and then torn down to make modern things, which are torn up and built down to make modern skyscrapers. The man's a prophet. To knock them down and all over. He has like clockwork mechanical birds and animals that just go around the place. And he has specifically a clockwork octopus, which is it is set
Cloctopus.
Cloctopus. And it's technically not sentient, but it has the appearance of being sentient in that its mechanisms are designed to be randomized. Completely and utterly randomized. So it has like the series of mechanisms on the inside that make every choice that it makes completely random. So it appears to have sentience. Sort of like when you're doing the whole, I'm going to do some like seance or something, and you're going to throw some bones, or you're gonna have one of those. Like,
It's like feigning sentience.
less feigning sentience is more the ability for people to impress upon what they see meaning.
Right,
Like
I
you're
see.
impressing meaning onto
Oh,
something.
okay, so like
when there technically isn't meaning at all, because it is all
just random.
It is just random.
Okay.
But like even then, the characters in the book still treat the octopus as if it is a little house pet. They do treat it with like politeness and like sentience, and the people who don't is like the cops that come in and like kick the octopus or whatever. Or, like they're about to kick the octopus. And it's like,
Okay.
hey, that's full of diamonds. Fucking watch yourself, is more expensive than you could even imagine.
Okay.
For context and diamonds, old clockwork used to be made with very precious gemstones because they were essentially of a pure weight and could be like, they were also durable enough that they had like the consistent weight, they were durable, and they would not change in like cold or hot temperature, which made them perfect for weights within mechanisms. That would have like better maintenance, upkeep, and so on and so on.
Okay. So yeah, so like basically, I mean, people do this already in real life with like their Alexa and what have you. Like they personify it more than. I mean, Alexa is basically just a search engine.
Yes.
With like some music capabilities. It can go into your apps and like play certain things.
Mm-hmm. And even then, like I still say thank you at the end of most like things.
Yeah. Like with the octopus, it's not really sentient.
There is no sentience,
but
to it.
it's
all
kind
programmed.
It gives me like the energy of like like in the 2000s, like there was this big fad about like robot toys and stuff like that. Like
I remember those dogs and the cat. They would
like
flip.
the raptor as well.
Yeah, the raptor. I remember the raptor.
Yeah. Like people like having a little thing that like they feel
can
like
interact with.
Yeah.
I feel like it interacts back even if it isn't.
Yeah, I mean it's like a pet. Like people love pets. Like and people who want a pet that like don't necessarily want to look after it necessarily, like that kind of like fills that gap. It's like Siri and what have you. Like it's like, oh, I have this Jarvis assistant kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like and it kind of makes you feel less lonely, I guess. Which actually does that actually does remind me of something, which is a bit of lore that I don't really delve into all that much, which is Halo.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm having deep flashbacks to 2012.
Yeah. Halo, humans, aliens, right? And the aliens were religious lunatics and they were attacking the planet and what have you. The Spartan program was a program created by famous war criminal Dr. Halsey, I think she was called. And
oh my god, I love her music.
Yeah. She kidnapped children.
Oh,
And basically
love her music.
and raised them to be soldiers. Also genetic modification.
Of course.
And like, a la Space Marine kind of thing. And the Spartans were these tall, super enhanced super soldiers. They had this armor that had like these shield generators that could like deflect any like kind of, well, they could stop any like injury. They would break, but they would stop any injury, and then they would reform and they could take another hit kind of thing. One thing they noticed was that they were psychologically fucked. They were absolutely traumatized because they were literally taken from families in the night. Like, they had no family. They were raised in a militaristic way. There was constant rivalry amongst them. And they were like, what can we do to make them less depressed? They gave them a companion. They gave them an AI.
All right, that's okay. Tell me more.
They gave them a companion that lives basically in their helmet, and this
like a little Tamagotchi.
Basically, yeah, but it kind of like looked after them in a way. It gave them someone to talk to that was just theirs, and it didn't fill the role of a romantic partner in any way, but it kind of had that same sort of energy.
Parent, even.
Yeah, like a parent,
a caregiver.
The famous one for the main character of Halo, Master Chief.
His name is Master Chef.
His name is Master Chief.
Wait.
But people call him.
I'm thinking about Solid Snake. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know anything about fucking. But yeah,
Colonel.
his AI is called Cortana.
Oh, like the Windows.
Yeah.
Like the Windows.
That's what she's named after. And Cortana was based off of the brain of Dr. Halsey. And I think every single Spartan had one of these.
But they all developed differently to adapt to their Spartan.
I don't know.
Oh.
But basically, it was kind of like a younger version of herself. That like, basically it became Master Chief's friend. And then it started to die
Why?
because AIs degenerate after a certain amount of time. They can't live forever. Like, they just start getting corrupted. There's like too much information going on, so they
that's
just
a bit shit. Just pop a USB stick in there, you will, right?
yeah. So again, it's kind of this thing of like,
Empty the recycling bin.
yeah. So AIs are disposable as well as the soldiers that need them, kind of thing.
Oh dear.
So
It's quite sad.
It's kind of like, oh, here's the short term like thing. We're not expecting these people to like live that much longer, kind of thing. Because wasn't expecting to talk about Halo.
It was, yeah. I think the natural progression from robots to sentience to AI is how we got, you know?
I mean, again, this is like another militaristic sci-fi shooter. It's one of my favorite games ever, though. Titanfall. Just the game, you're a free-running pilot. Pilots are like these soldiers who are like super fucking epic. Wow, they can like, they've got double jumps and they can wall run and stuff. But they also have this thing called a Titan, and the Titan they perform a neural link with, and big robot, shoot gun, whatever. Titanfall's campaign, you are some random Joe Schmo soldier guy, but this pilot is like, I see potential in you, I'm going to train you to be a pilot. He dies, and you take control of his pilot because you need to.
Okay, yeah.
So, and this Titan is called BT-7274, and he's one of my favorite characters ever because he is that sort of brink of like, he is a weapon who's kind of developed sort of a personality because he's been around for a while, but he's not quite there yet. Like he's like, pilot, move, there are some guys coming, and he's like, you could say that again, and then he just repeats the same sentence, kind of thing. And again, this links to kind of like
the slow development of personality and identity and consciousness just by being around people.
Exactly. But also as well, devices basically what I'm trying to say is that autistic people like robots because they relate to them a lot, because they're that social awkwardness kind of stage.
Taking things way too literally.
Exactly, yeah. Like like there's a point in the game where BT throws you. Like he is like, only want to get over here. My best guess is a throw, and he calculates like your mass and everything, and then launches you perfectly. And he's like, "Are you all right?" And you're like, and I wanted that because you have dialogue options. It's quite fun. One of the dialogue options is, "Oh, I'm gonna need some new underpants." It's like noted for the next shipment, kind of thing. And it's just cute. I like that kind of thing.
Have you ever played Ratchet and Clank?
Yes.
That was my favorite game growing up. It was my absolute...
I used to play that in after school club.
I ended up buying a PS2 at the start of 2020 because of the nostalgia of hitting a decade. And I ended up getting all of the Ratchet and Clank games because I had them as a kid. We never managed to find Ratchet and Clank 2. And this was like before eBay was really properly up and running. It was a bit difficult to find. So we had Ratchet and Clank 1, Ratchet and Clank 3, and then we had like the Gladiator one. And like it is everything to me. It is everything to me. It has a spot in my heart and my brain. But I'm specifically talking about Clank. Yeah. The little guy.
The little British guy.
Yes, he's just a little guy. So for you guys listening who have no idea what we're talking about, Ratchet and Clank is an old-fashioned sci-fi funky little shooter game. It's like absolutely hilarious.
It's like a hack and slash kind of like funny.
So much hacking and slashing. One of your main weapons is just a giant wrench.
Yeah.
So you play as Ratchet, the Lombax, and he is this sort of
he's cat. Lombax. I remember that. Yeah.
He's like a cat-like alien. This is all set in space. And he's like a mechanic, and he is actually the last of his kind.
Yes,
because his planet got like exploded a while back.
Yeah.
And he's just working as like a mechanic on this shit show of a planet, and then there is something that crashes at the sky, and it turns out, it's this tiny little robot guy, who is a massive bitch. He's so bitchy and rude. I love him. And Mr. Robot Guy is on a mission to like save the universe from this Dr. Nefarious, who is trying to take over the entire universe with these like acidic globular goo men who eat everything they see.
Big mood.
Honestly, big mood. So you and your buddy, so Ratchet and Clank, they go off together. You wear Clank as a backpack.
Yeah,
at all times.
he has little propellers.
And he has little propellers, so you can glide, and sometimes you get like an upgrade for a rocket ship, and you get like an underwater jetpack and stuff. You get loads of stuff.
Yeah, I remember all that.
And they're like reluctant best mates because Ratchet is just like this guy, and he's fucking knackered to be here, but he is the muscle, and he's sort of been obligated into helping out, and now he sort of can't pull out, and also it would be a bit shitty if everybody died.
Yeah.
And then Clank is this guy who has his mission. He has his mission and he has to do it. Ratchet, why aren't you taking this more seriously? We must away. And he gets like quite like the dry sense of humor. And I don't know, it's very fun. And instead of one of the plot lines, I think maybe of this one or the third one, is the robots versus organics thing. That is like one of the threads throughout the entire series.
Oh yeah.
Where robots who are completely sentient, and a lot of them have like their own communities and stuff, they are tired of being used as servants and workers, and they revolt. I think that's the plot of the third game. I haven't finished the second one, so I couldn't bloody tell you what happens. But the robots versus organics debate is just one of like the really weird key themes that goes through game 1 and 2, and in game 3 they explore it really deeply. And it's interesting that there is like this bias in there in like space society against robots in a way, because they were like servitude, they were like servant class. But in every interaction with like the NPCs and like all the cutscenes, everybody likes Clank more, and they give him credit for everything, and they don't give Ratchet any of the credit and stuff.
That's fun.
He's the heavy.
That's fun.
It is very fun, but it's very interesting if you think about it in canon. Like, do they think that robots are more capable? So of course they must have done this because that is their role. They are job doers, and that's what they do.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on like where you are in like a world. Like, I mean, you can talk about the like obviously it's basically a complete parallel to racism. Like it's so like different races, and like it's interesting because like, you know, if you are a person of color in say Southern America, you might die.
I was just listening to a podcast on Sundown Towns the other day. I might end up writing one of my essays.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, on just for context, I'm a history master's student. And
I think you have said before.
Just in case you guys forget that I'm a master's student. I'm having a rough time.
I've not graduated.
Sorry, suck it. You don't have a degree? That's kind of embarrassing. But yeah, I'm doing my master's in history, and one of the topics that I can write on for one of my modules is place and locality, and the concept of place and locality in history. And the concept of sundown towns is, do you know?
I don't know.
So a sundown town, this is post the freedom of the slaves in southern North America, and after the slaves were freed, they started to develop sundown towns, and a lot of this is along Route 66. So for, you know, white people and tourists, Route 66 is the fun, funky like road that you travel down. However, during this period, the Route 66 sort of became a pathway of nothing but sundown towns, where they would have signs and postcards, and it was on like their welcome to blank town. N-word, if you can read this, run. If you can't read, just run.
Oh, so it's basically like...
After sundown, if you are black and you are caught in this town, then your chances of getting out are very, very low.
Basically, they would...
Yeah, lynching, essentially. So it was a way of ensuring that the town wouldn't become polluted by black property owners, black homeowners, black business owners, black workers.
Jesus.
It's an absolutely horrifying facet of American history. And what's really interesting, well, not interesting, it's sort of part of the course, is the fact that most white Americans, and even black Americans, because it's not taught in the curriculum there at all, have no concept of the fact that sundown towns even existed, and that most of these towns have tried to erase the history by denying that it happened, by not talking about it, by like sort of covering up records and stuff. There is one particular historian, I don't have his name at the moment, he spent like the last few decades, he's passed away recently, he spent the last few decades essentially trawling through records one by one to confirm the validity of sundown towns, where they were, if they happened, and then interviewing people, black and white, who were there or were not there, on their knowledge of sundown towns or their experiences with sundown towns. And a lot of Americans from now have no idea that sundown towns existed. What they thought was, hey, so why aren't there any black people here? Why did no black people run for local elections? Why did they not involve themselves in politics? Why did they not get their own government?
Because they were fucking ousted by these sundown towns.
Oh, no, but the answer that they give is, oh, well, they had just been freed and they had no education, so of course they couldn't run things properly, so the white people had to take over. And that is the attitude that most Americans have towards this part of history, because that is what they are educated on. Anyway, the reason I brought that up is because I might write an essay specifically talking about how there's one town, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of it, but one town that was a sundown town, though people will argue or for or against whether or not it was, but it's pretty sure it was. And it was majority white, but they still had black workers to be their gardeners and their housekeepers and what have you.
Oh, and
so what happens is that they have the sundown town, and maybe half a mile away is another town that starts up that's essentially black only populated, because they have to live somewhere if they want to work there. So they have to commute in and out and just dodge the sunrise and set.
God, and
is that not insane?
Yeah, and that sort of links to like the whole. I mean, at least like, well, it's kind of like when you see like a black maid kind of thing, and it's kind of like, even though that they are not a slave, it's kind of like they're still being forced into these subservient roles, and you see this in old media all the time.
Yes.
Like whilst they were
like they've cut out certain sections of Tom and Jerry.
So you
only see like her legs. Just for context, if I may, the podcast I was listening to is on YouTube. It's by the Illuminati. She spoke about it much more eloquently and much more at length than I did.
The Illuminati?
Yeah, the Illuminati.
Okay, cool.
She's like a sort of an information like YouTube channel that just does deep dives into things, and this was like some are on corporations, some are on historic topics. It's very, very interesting. She does a lot of really good stuff. She does a good one on toddlers and tiaras and dance moms, which I loved.
Oh fuck yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's I would recommend like having.
I might listen to that.
Yeah, give that a listen, because it was really informative. She also did a good one on Shein. Did you know that there's 1 in 5 clothing items from Shein have lead in them?
Did not know that.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew that some of the labels sometimes had like
help me.
Yeah,
that's apparently false.
Yeah, that's
been falsified, so it's really creepy that that's happening.
Yeah. Fun.
Sorry, we completely slipped out of
robots. I mean, I think it's good to like segue a little bit. I mean,
and there is definitely an allegory made there, not just for like queer people in terms of feeling or at least identifying with othering, but for people to build a narrative and a metaphor around characters that can be used in a sense of othering, like robots or supernatural things or this and this and that.
Yeah, well, it's how filmmakers got away with it. It's how like filmmakers could not get away with writing a film about racism quite literally
about racism.
Yeah,
like,
quite literally. They had to have a metaphor for it.
It's happening more now. Like, for example, like the Jason Peele.
Jordan Peele.
You
films. Need to watch those. It's so good.
I'm so scared of horrors, but yes, I'm gonna have to put it on my list.
It's so good.
I know, but I'm scared. But so I know he's doing a lot in terms of just having blatant, like less metaphorical, but less like metaphorical, like media discussing racism. But then you also have, I guess in the last 10 years, more things coming out that are making not even the last. It's been a while. They've been churning out media that uses robots or sci-fi or fantasy or whatever as metaphors for discrimination against minorities. Not to bring it back to like the bare bones, but Zootopia, for example.
Yeah, I mean that was like
even Steven Universe, which does discuss like hierarchies.
Yeah,
first, second, third, whatever class.
Based off of your like birth.
Yeah, your creation, your origins.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed as well, and again I'm kind of segueing away from the robots kind of part, but like I've seen like a lot of you get this particularly with Disney media, where it's kind of like they will include representation in air quotes, and then kind of just do fucking nothing with it.
Disney's seventh first gay character has been revealed.
It's what one example is the gay kiss in the last Star Wars movie. And it was just like, look, here's your representation, which is a shot that you see for like 2 seconds, and it's two girls kissing, and like it's nice,
but that's not the point. Like,
yeah,
people are churning out so much better. Like Steven Universe, as an example, is everything. It's giving everything. And then you have Disney's like fifth first gay character, which is LeFou from the live action Beauty and the Beast. And they're like, we're gonna queer code this man so much because it's so funny, and isn't he so cringe? And then you will get a 0.5 second clip at the very end of the film of him dancing with a man like going off screen. That's it.
Yeah. It's like, it's trying to please crowds, but it's like so insulting.
It's deeply insulting. They're trying to please crowds without like deeply offending like their conservative audience, and then like China and Russia.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with like back to Star Wars again. Rey as a character, I was so looking forward to seeing how she would develop. I was so looking forward to how Finn would develop. I was so looking forward to how Poe would develop. For clarification, Rey as a character is a woman. She's a white woman,
Yeah,
but
I
she's
do, yeah.
I'm more sort of saying for the
Oh, yeah,
audience.
of course, of
Finn is
course.
a black man, and Poe is a Hispanic man. Is Hispanic a correct term to use? I don't know.
I think it is. As far as I'm aware, it is.
Yeah, anyway, none of them really get any good like development as
Or even
characters.
storylines?
Yeah, like, and it's not even necessarily about their sort of physical selves, but it's like Rey at the end wins the big battle because all the spirits of all the Jedi help her. Finn is a stormtrooper. He was a stormtrooper that defected and has a lot of trauma, which is a super interesting fucking plotline, right? Never explored.
Genuinely. Ugh.
Never explored. Poe is the best resistance pilot. He's like your hot rod kind of like hot shot kind of pilot kind of guy. He's like really good starfighter pilot, and he's one of like the resistance leaders. But he's also kind of like reckless, and like he has his opinions and stuff, but he's not the highest in command kind of thing. Doesn't get explored really that much.
Yeah, it's a cash grab money churner,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. Whereas in Andor, where we have I've forgotten his name, the main character guy.
Is his name not Andor?
No. The
that not a
actor's
name?
the actor's name.
Oh, okay.
I've forgotten the character's name. I'm gonna feel so bad, but he's also
Mr. Andor.
Mr. Andor. He is also a Hispanic character, and it's so nice that he's getting his own series developed to, and also the series is fucking good. Like I've only seen like 4 episodes of it so far. That's all that's out at the moment. I cannot wait. There's a new episode out tomorrow. I am shitting myself.
I will
It
say
is.
my only concern for you is that every like Disney released thing they produced for TV for Disney Plus has been brilliant up until the last 2 episodes where everything falls to shit. WandaVision, Loki. Actually, The Winter Soldier was good. I enjoyed that.
I do want to watch The Winter Soldier.
Very good.
Thing is, I have hope for this because like all the other Star Wars media is quite safe. It plays it quite safe, and it's quite like it's your classic kind of like sort of thing. Obi-Wan is like your Jedi story. Mandalorian is a Western with some daddy issues. Mandalorian is quite fun, but it's not very in-depth, deep like storytelling. It's like, what's this D&D adventure going to be about? This Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Andor is a thriller noir style TV series that's fucking dark. Like, it is grim and gritty, and you see so much of just everyday people in it, in this universe, which is so nice. It's so nice. And for a series that's known for doing a lot of blasting, there's not a lot of it. It's a lot of,
Okay.
it's a lot more character driven. It's a,
I enjoy a character
like
driven
literally
media. Is
I
it for
want
me.
I want to show you Star Wars just so you get the context for Rogue One and this series, because I want to show you them. They are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to robots real quick.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing comments on robots? Summary maybe, because we've gone all over the place, but
we have gone all over the place.
The way I think one of the biggest things about robots in media is how sometimes it starts out as just, oh, haha, robot. But a lot of the time, it either becomes or is deliberately chosen as a representation for some sort of metaphor, some sort of placement for some kind of minority.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, because obviously we came into this thinking, oh, it's the gender and the non-binary and the queerness and the neurodivergent, because that's what we are. And then it's like, actually, no, there is so many other like groups that can identify it. So many less people choosing to identify with it, groups choosing or seeing themselves in it, but also people making the choice to use it as a representation of.
Well, it's the fact that, like, here's a servant. Servant has developed personality and humanity. Where do we draw the line, kind of thing. One of the last thing, I promise. One of the interesting parallels that I love in the film WALL-E, which is one of my favorite fucking movies.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk about WALL-E.
WALL-E is one of my favorite fucking movies ever. Go what if you've not seen what like literally. I watched it with my partner and we were like, WALL-E doesn't make us cry, and then we watched it and cried.
WALL-E will make you cry, and they
it's
are
been
absolutely
so long.
girlfriends.
But absolutely. But the interesting thing about WALL-E is that there is a parallel between the humans who are becoming more automated and less autonomous, and the robots who are becoming more autonomous. And I just like that. And there's also lots of little nice subtle design language as well. Like the plot of WALL-E is that the planet is fucked. Earth is fucked. Humans have got fucked off in a big Starship cruise liner whilst the robots clean up the mess.
WALL-E is the last robot cleaning up the mess.
Guess how he's powered?
The sun?
He's solar powered.
Yeah.
Renewable fucking energy. They had that the entire time. They could have used that.
But they just didn't.
And I just think that is just such a good, like, irony.
It really is.
Yeah. Go watch WALL-E. It's good.
WALL-E is good. It's a good little funny
fucking
throwback.
holds up. It holds up as well.
Oh, it does, absolutely. I've not seen it in a while, but I remember it very, very fondly. I will say, like, Pixar does generally churn out some good guys in terms of, like, quality, storytelling, metaphor, like, what message they're sending.
Yeah. I mean, fuck modern Disney, but, like, WALL-E's good. Anyway, I think that's it. We're coming up to about an hour. You need to make a pasta bake.
I do need to make a pasta bake. I'm feeding 4 people today.
I'm so excited.
What can I say? I'm housewife, housekeeping, house girl, bossing.
Robot coded.
Oh no, you. Not the robot coding.
Well, thank you for listening to this very rambly thing. Next time there will be something else.
Hopefully, touch wood. Hopefully, maybe Star Wars.
Hopefully, maybe Star Wars.
I would love to be able to actually explain what happened.
Maybe another guest.
Maybe another guest. My darling baby boy roommate, Theo, my beloved, might join us.
And might dump his whorish...
The man knows so much. He is a trove of accursed knowledge. He has an Excel spreadsheet, I think, with over 200 entries, which is a explanation, genre, rating, appropriateness, like everything like that, just on like different animes. It's intense. It's incredible. It's color-coded.
I mean, we don't have a weeb on here, so it's ideal for the podcast.
You say that like we don't both watch Spy X Family. Yes, I am exposing you. Oh, that being said, they've reanimated Naruto for the 20th anniversary, and it's so stunning.
I'm ending the episode now. We need to end the episode.
Just thinking about Kakashi from accounting.
I'm ending the episode. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.